ChatGPT turns on its creator, a serious decline, and Spotify pays out 10 queeners. Welcome to the Unlimited Supply Podcast, your daily music business TLDR in your ear, powered by too many open browser tabs, and brought to you by No Disc, helping music, technology, and finance companies navigate the music industry in partnership with Digital Music News. It's Friday, January 31st, 2025. I'm Lars Murray. It's Finance Friday, but before we dive into the shallow money trench, well, the sudden emergence of Deepseek Ai has rattled all of the big U.S. AI players this week, with tech stocks taking a hit and big AI wondering how it got blindsided. Well, the finger-pointing started fast. Here's a quote ripped from CNN. Quote, OpenAI, a startup that's built on a foundation of data it scraped from the internet without permission, is pointing the finger at another startup allegedly doing more or less the same thing. Unquote. So, if Deepseek AI is using OpenAI for training, how is that any different from, say, OpenAI using unlicensed music and lyrics for training? Who better to ask that than OpenAI itself? So I did. I asked ChatGPT the following. Hey, ChatGPT, what's the difference between using unlicensed music and lyrics as training data and scraping OpenAI to train another AI platform like DeepSeek? And the answer was probably not something that OpenAI head Sam Altman would want to hear from his creation. Here is what it told me. The final verdict is that unlicensed music and lyrics are direct copyright infringement and equal a strong legal risk. Scraping AI is a terms of service violation, and it's a legal gray area, but enforceable by OpenAI. ChatGPT went on to say both practices are risky, but using copyrighted music and lyrics is a, and it's in bold here, clearer legal violation than scraping OpenAI, which primarily breaches the terms of service rather than the copyright law. So, even the AI bot itself acknowledges that pirating unlicensed music as training data is worse than pirating the platform to train another platform. Dr. Altmanstein, I do believe your creation has turned on you. Last week, we shouted out a post by Dr. Tamay Aykut, CEO of Surreal, about synthetic data, which is loosely defined as AI data generated from AI sources, or, as we call it around here, nine-toed cats. There are some disagreements in the AI community as to whether synthetic data is the holy grail, which would be the position of, say, Elon Musk, or the disappointing result of an exhausted training data pool, as Ben Shao of the University of Chicago told Stephen Dubner on last week's episode of Freakonomics. Go check it out. Regardless of where you stand, our nine-toed cat future is coming. Back to Dr. Aykut, we said we would post part 2 of his synthetic data rundown this week. He posted it, and it's a clear, succinct summary of synthetic data repercussions for musicians and songwriters, and even includes recommendations for human creators. If you're worried about being disrupted by AI, it's an essential read. And even more to the point for Finance Friday, according to Dr. Aykut, the music AI industry is projected to grow into a $42 billion market. That's 42 queeners within the next 3 years, so you'd best be prepared. Now let's dive into the shallow money trench where thieves and pimps run free. SiriusXM had its earnings call yesterday after it announced more layoffs earlier this week, and well, this is what managed decline looks like. Over in Billboard, Elizabeth Dilts Marshall had the report. Some takeaways: the SiriusXM segment of the overall company, which doesn't include Pandora, was down 4% from 2023. Average revenue per user, down from 2023. XM self-pay subscribers, down from 2023. Pandora and off-platform self-pay subscribers down from 2023. SiriusXM gross profit down 6% from 2023, but with a gross margin of 60%, which is actually roughly flat from 2023. How do you squeeze more margin from fewer customers and less revenue? Easy, layoffs. But let's keep going. As usual, the bright spots were increased revenues from subscribers, advertising, programmatic sales, and what else? Podcasting. The other bright spot was that Pandora and off-platform revenue was actually up from 2023. Just for kicks, let's take a flashback to Q4 of 2016 before SiriusXM put the squeeze on Pandora in its push to acquire it. In the fourth quarter of 2016, standalone Pandora reported revenue up 17% from the previous year. And while it was still posting losses, as of December 31st, 2016, Pandora had 81 million active users. It now has 43 million. Pandora's Q4 2016 revenue was higher than Wall Street expectations. It beat the guidance. Pandora's Q4 2016 was the company's highest revenue quarter then to date. Sigh. Despite all of those fun numbers, SiriusXM stock actually went up yesterday. Did we say managed decline? Yes, we did. Meanwhile, the app that helped SXM undead Pandora, that would be Spotify, took a minute ahead of its earnings call next week to congratulate itself on its payouts, which, Bundlegate notwithstanding, totaled $10 billion in 2024, or as we say around here, 10 queeners, up 1 queener from 2023. Maurice Stassen has all the details at Music Business Worldwide. And since Spotify seems to be peaking with its growth flattening and its stock at an all-time high, where might it go from here? Well, one popular theory is that maybe Netflix should buy it and roll it into one massive all-purpose streaming giant. Of course, it would be much cheaper just to build a competitor in-house. Tech investor Alex Gramatzki decided to run the numbers on what that would look like in a LinkedIn post this week. Bottom line is that a Netflix-Spotify competitor could be spun up for about $7 billion, which is actually less than Spotify paid out to artists last year, and it's pocket change for Netflix and a fraction of what it would cost to actually buy Spotify. Of course, it doesn't really account for consumer switching costs, but it's an interesting thought experiment. Finally, in this week's big deal, Music Business Worldwide reported that Influence Media Partners has secured approximately $360 million in debt financing collateralized by music royalties from its portfolio of music rights. Congrats to Influence partner Lylette Pizzarro, who was a guest on my podcast Big Bro Larry Miller's Musonomics podcast late last year. There's a link to that conversation in the show notes. Spend it wisely, Lylette. And finally, over at Variety, old friend Andrew Hampp got a promotion this week to Managing Director of Music and Consumer Partnerships. Congrats, Andrew! That's another Finance Friday. Support for the Unlimited Supply podcast is provided by RoyFi, which offers the lowest rates and fairest terms on advances in the industry. And by Hangout.fm. Hangout by Turntable Labs is the new social listening platform where users connect, discover new music, and play over 100 million songs with their friends and family. Hangout is the best place to do a listening party for a new release, so if you want to set one up, check it out at Hangout.fm. To get unlimited supply every single day, follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Links are in the show notes, including LA Fire resources. Hit me up at unlimitedsupplypod.com on LinkedIn or at lars@nodisk.com to make suggestions, to feed us tips, to feed us lunch, to call us out on our dubious assertions, and to tell us what we're missing out on. In the words of the great philosopher Eduardo Rivadavia, don't let your short-term greed get in the way of your long-term greed. And remember, in this business, no conflict means no interest. Dr. Altmanstein, I do believe your creation has turned on you.
Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, Damen und Herren, from what was once an inarticulate mass of lifeless tissues, may I now present a cultured, sophisticated man about town. Hit it! If you're blue and you don't know where to go to, why don't you go where fashion sits? Different types